The following is a presentation of IMG, America's home for college sports. Live from Quaker Steak and Lube on US 1 in Edison, this is the Chris Ash Show. Your chance to talk with the head coach of the Scarlet Knights on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Tonight's show is brought to you by To be a part of the show, give us a call at 1-877-384-1869. That's 877-384-1869. Now, let's go live to Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison to talk Rutgers football. Here's your host, Chris Carlin.
Another great crowd on hand. It is week 2 of the Chris Ash Show right here at Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, New Jersey. Chris Carlin alongside the birthday boy and I believe Drake's new sidekick, Eric LeGrand. Coach, how about this? Saturday, at the end of the game, I said, Eric, you got any plans tonight? Nothing really. Late that night, I'm looking up on my phone, looking at Instagram. There's Eric with Drake backstage. I got a light night.
I'm just saying, I like, just find my way back there, finagle my way if I can make it happen.
Yeah.
Life is pretty good for him.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
He just had a birthday, cut his hair, and he's hanging out with Drake.
Yeah, not bad.
And he's stuck here with you and me.
Yeah, and Wednesday's maybe the downfall. I don't know.
Come on now, guys. I love being here.
Well, it's good to have you, E. And, of course, Coach, it's great to see you off of a win this past week. Scarlet Knights at 1-0 on the year. Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Actually, I want to welcome you guys finally. It's week 2 of the show. You guys finally showed up this year. Nice job.
Last week, I showed up late and asked Coach a question from over here. And
did you?
I said, who's your favorite co-host?
You reminded me of Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. And
awesome.
Who did he say? Eric LeGrand.
I like it, Coach. Yeah, good answer.
If you have questions.
Just take me to Drake with you next time.
If you have questions for the coach and you're here in attendance at Quaker Steak and Lube, by all means, come on up front. We will get you straight up here on RVision and on 1450 WCTC. You can call in 877-384-1869. That's 877-384-1869. And, of course, tweet your questions at Rutgers Radio or at RU Athletics. Want to welcome everybody on Facebook Live as well. 35-7 was your final as Rutgers took care of Texas State this past Saturday. So, Coach, a couple of days later, your major takeaways from the game.
Well, to start, I was really happy for our players, our staff, and all the fans. Great student section energy at the game on Saturday, but just really happy for everybody involved that we were able to start the season 1-0. Looking at the game, going back through and recapping it, there were a lot of positives to take away. We played a lot of young players. We made some mistakes. It wasn't necessarily a perfect game, a clean game like we need to have as we move forward and we get into better opponents. But there were a lot of positives to take away from it. A lot of action for young players. They got their first game opportunity, did exceptionally well. And we just keep getting better, and we're just grinding away and improving every day.
I was going to ask you, how important is it to get those young players out there for the first time? They've been through training camp now where they're going back and forth at each other. Finally got to hit somebody else. How important was it for them to get that time out there?
It was huge. I felt really good about our young players as we went through practice and evaluated. A lot of the young players, 10 of them were here in the spring, and they were with us during the spring practice, the spring game, and all of that stuff. But you never really know what you have until you go play. So after game 1, we know a lot more about our football team right now, especially our young players, guys that got the first action. And we know how to develop a plan to help them continue to get better as we move forward in the season.
One of those guys was, of course, the quarterback, and Art Sitkowski. How did you evaluate his performance after seeing the tape?
He had a really good first game. It wasn't perfect, but there were some question marks that we had about Art before the game started. One, how he was going to just handle game day. How would he respond to negative things that happen? How would he handle getting hit in a game because he hasn't been touched for a while? And he handled all those things great. He handled the moment. He led the team. He executed. He had some mistakes that he made. He responded in the right way, just like we would want our quarterback to. He got hit, dusted it off, and kept going. So really proud of Art. He's worked really hard for this opportunity. He's being a leader for our team. He's trying to learn the offense more and more every single day. And I'm excited to watch him grow as we go.
Can you talk about the relationship that's been going on in the quarterback's room. I believe in the middle of the game, I think it was just right after one of the interceptions that R threw, that he was sitting on the sideline with Gio, and Gio was coaching him up and trying to help him out, I guess, on one of the reads that he saw from the side. Can you talk about the relationship that they have?
Yeah, just the whole room is outstanding, in my opinion. Between the quarterbacks and Coach McNulty, all those guys together have really formed a really tight bond. And they all wanted to start, they all want to play, but they want to help each other also. Gio's been a great leader, great really a coach on the field for that group. And what you saw last Saturday after a negative play, is what Gio has been doing since Art's gotten on campus.
The run game, you had to be very pleased, 218 yards, and the majority of that coming in the second half, where you're able to wear them down and just put the game away for good.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. It's the number one goal of our offense is we have to run the football. Not try, we have to run the football. And it opens up the passing game. We started the game off slow. We felt like we should have had more yards in the running game in the first half. There were a lot of opportunities. We just, one guy didn't finish a block, another guy didn't finish a block, and the holes that were there closed relatively fast. And we can't do that as we move forward and play better teams. But we finally got it going in the second half, finished with over 200 yards rushing and over 200 yards passing, so there was great balance with the offense.
And as you see, we have multiple backs now that you could juggle up and put out there. What did you see from Blackshear and Hillman, and at the end, the young guy, Pacheco?
Yeah, kind of like the quarterback room. I'm really pleased with where the running back room is at. There's 4 guys that have really been pushing each other. Really 5 when you count Charles Snorway in there also. Yes. But all of those guys have been doing a great job at practice. They get along extremely well. Again, just like the quarterbacks, they all want to play. They all want their carries, but they all want to help each other and make each other better. And that's exactly what they've done, and it's made the room better. But Blackshear was all over the field. He is one of our best players. He's the most dynamic player we have on offense. We've got to get him the ball in a lot of different ways. We're going to line him up at running back and wide receiver, just like what you would have seen last Saturday. And then Jonathan Hillman comes in. He's a different type of back, a bigger back. He got some really tough carries in short yardage and goal line situations. And then obviously Pacheco came in and showed some of the signs that he has potential to be a really good player here.
Our telephone number, 877-384-1869, 877-384-1869. Your questions for the coach. We'll also take them on Twitter. We'll take our first one there in just a moment. But if you're in attendance here at Quaker Steak and Lube, you can come on up and ask the coach, and that's where we will start tonight. Sir, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, Coach. I'm Dan. I'm from Somerset. Wanted to talk a little bit about pass protection. A couple times during the Texas game thing, I know they blitzed a lot and they broke a linebacker, and I thought Arthur showed a very good little bit of poison. Sometimes threw some passes with a guy absolutely in his face. Yeah. But this coming Saturday, as you well know better than anybody, we're going to face one of the fiercest pass rushes in the whole country. I want to know what we're going to do about protecting the quarterback a little better this coming. I'm sure it's something you've worked on in practice.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first game was the first game. They had a new defensive coordinator. We had no idea what they were going to do on defense. There were some things that they did with the Blitz game and their fronts that we hadn't seen before. So it was a game of adjustments. Early in the game, you saw them get to the quarterback a little bit more. As the game wore on, though, you saw us protect the quarterback better because we had an idea of what they were doing. We're going to play Ohio State. It's not going to be necessarily about what they're doing. It's about the people they're doing it with that are very athletic. We know, what they're good at and what we're going to have to do to try to protect our quarterback, because if we can't do that, we have no chance in the game. So there's some things protection-wise fundamentally we have to get better at, but there's some protections that we have to use against a team like this with the type of defensive ends that they have to try to provide time for the quarterback.
Thank you.
Yep,
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you. Our first question on Twitter, somewhat related to Art in terms of from the outside, Coach, do you think that he took kind of long to get rid of the ball in some instances?
When you evaluate the quarterback position, especially for a freshman in first game, that's one of the things that you always see is at times that he holds on to the ball too long. So that's just something he has to get used to and improve on as we go. But, yeah, there's opportunity. There were plays that he did hold on to the ball too long. Maybe didn't trust his read, or there was something with the route not right. There were a couple times a route might not have been run right, or somebody got tripped up and fell down, so he had to hold on to the ball and go to a different read. But he does need to improve on that, and that's something that we're working on, have been working on for quite some time.
And, Coach, how much do you say you would have input, I guess, on talking to him when he comes to the side? I know you like to control the defense and things like that, but how much do you ever have to pull him over to the side, or do you leave it to everyone else to pretty much control that on game day?
Yeah, I'll talk to him every now and then. I don't say a whole lot to the quarterbacks. I'm not a quarterback coach. I've never coached the quarterbacks. I can give him some words of encouragement to or congratulate him, based on what the situation was coming off the sideline. But I'm not going over to coach him. I'm not trying to, give him pointers on his techniques and reads and things like that. That's just that's out of my area of expertise, so I stay away from it. But if I see him coming off the field and he needs to pick me up, I'll go over and help him out. Or if obviously if he made a great play and had a good series, I'm going to go over and congratulate him too.
Let's talk a little bit about the defense before we take our first break. A couple of things that really jumped out: 11 tackles for loss in the game, 3 sacks, and 6 pass breakups. Those are some pretty encouraging numbers right there.
Yeah, those are things that we as a defensive staff have been talking about for quite some time. With this group of players that we have, what do we have to do defensively to give ourselves a chance? We just talked about Ohio State's personnel. We don't have that personnel, but our goals are still the same. We need to go out and play defensive football at a very high level. We need to get TFLs. We need to get sacks. Those things will increase our takeaways that we also need to do a better job. And I think we put together a package that's a more aggressive package, a package that's very multiple, fits the personnel that we have right now. And I thought Coach Neiman did a great job of mixing up the calls and the looks and bringing different guys throughout the game that helped create some confusion.
And as you mentioned, you have a lot of more depth, I believe, at the defensive backs and the linebackers. But when you get to the defensive line, may not have as much depth, but they were able to get in the backfield, and as you said, Coach, and even mix it up and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about the D-line play with the 3-4, and then Alon Lumore can play in that jack position, who look very disruptive coming off the edge?
Yeah, we're not really classified as a 3-4 or 4-3. We're more of what I would say a multiple front up front. We have the ability to play with 3 D linemen or 4 D linemen based on, or actually even 2. We have packages, and we did them last Saturday. We only had 2 D linemen on the field, and that's all because of we're going to go and develop a package that allows us to be successful with the people that we have. Defensive linemen are very hard to recruit. You have to go develop them. The ones that we have been developed, and we need to continue to do that. We have some young freshmen that I really like that just need to be developed. But the overall group has done a great job. We're not top-heavy with a lot of experience. We have some younger guys, guys that played. Mike Tverdoff is one that comes to mind that played last week and played exceptionally well. Very excited for him. We're going to try to get Matt Thomas, who had been injured during training camp. He's healthy now, kind of up to speed and get some reps so we can try to get him in the mix also. So we've got to get some younger players to help us out at the defensive line position. But we have built our system so we can play with 3, 4, or even 2 defensive linemen based on our needs.
877-384-1869 is our telephone number for your questions for Coach Chris Ash as Rutgers prepares for number 4 Ohio State on Saturday out in Columbus. We'll talk about that matchup. And you mentioned Coach Neiman. He will stop by as well tonight, and not only a lot going on for him here at Rutgers, but some pretty big news as far as one of the members of his family is concerned this past week. We'll talk about that as well with Coach Neiman in just a little bit. We'll take our first time out. Get on the phones at 877-384-1869. Tweet us your questions at Rutgers Radio, and of course, ask him here if you're at Quaker Steak and Lube. Another great crowd on hand. A lot to do on this week's edition of the Chris Ash Show.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube. Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2.50, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar open all year round. On the way to the game and need something to go? Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size. Watch all the games, have a great time, and enjoy the best wings in the USA. 561 Route 1 in Edison. 732-777-WING.
When we take care of our own hearts, we're also taking care of the people closest to us. So it's comforting to know that RWJ Barnabas Health has New Jersey's most comprehensive cardiac care program, with access to top specialists, minimally invasive heart surgery options, and rehabilitation and wellness programs. So get your heart checked. It's as easy as visiting rwjbh.org/heart. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
The Chris Ash Show returns after this local timeout. This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Best tailgate? It's gotta be burgers. And an ice-cold Coke.
Real football y pollo asado.
Hoops and wings. Dude, subs.
Nah, hot dog.
No, Dodger dog.
I'll drink to that. Pass me a Coke. It's gotta be crawfish.
Mac and cheese.
No.
7-layer dip.
Ribs.
No contest.
Hummus.
What?
You need a hot grill.
And ice-cold Coke.
Of course.
Football and Coke. Come on.
It's got to be Coke.
Game day? Race day.
Calls for Coke.
You know it.
It's Tailgating 101.
This is Cabell Philpott, host of the Nissan College Football Blitz. Heard every Saturday from noon until midnight Eastern on TuneIn.com and the TuneIn app. When there's a big play, a momentum change, and that possible upset happening, not only will we let you know, you'll hear the scores as they happen live. Catch all of the action as we count you down to the college football playoff. It's the Nissan College Football Blitz. Saturdays, noon until midnight Eastern on the College Sports Now channel on TuneIn.com and the TuneIn app.
We have returned to Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison for this week's edition of the Chris Ash Show. Week 2, Rutgers getting set to take on Ohio State this coming Saturday. 3:30 kick out in Columbus. Of course, that game will air on Big Ten Network and, of course, on the Rutgers Radio Network as well. A couple of things I wanted to get to. You mentioned Coach McNulty. You like the whole room. Your first impressions of him calling the game this past week?
I thought he did a great job. He mixed it up. He had great balance, gave the defense a lot of different looks, made some calls, some unconventional calls in some unique situations, which we need to do to keep the defense off guard. As we go and we continue to develop the offense and have more options, he'll continue to do that more and more as we move forward.
I want to get into the depth of the position we really didn't talk about. That's tight end. You guys opened up the game with 3 tight ends on the field, so can you talk
like
about
that?
Yeah, hey, that's big boy football right there, Coach. But 3 tight ends that you could throw out there at once, can you talk about how the confidence that you have in that position?
Yeah, we've been pleased with our tight end position. We really have 3 guys, and Max Anthony is a 4th one. It's kind of a hybrid type of tight end fullback, but with Jerome Washington, Travis Vokalek, and Nakia Griffin, I think it gives us a lot of options. And the thing I like about Coach McNulty's offense, and it's really why I went this direction, is it's multiple and it can use different personnel packages a lot different. Tight ends, we can use 4 wides, we can use 2 backs, whatever we need to do, and whatever is our best grouping, we can use them. And that flexibility and being multiple like that gives defenses challenges.
877-384-1869. Also, tweet your questions at Rutgers Radio. 2 from Twitter right now. This from Brian Z. Coach, obviously, T1 Mason, his injury looked very bad. What's the situation with him?
Yeah, T1 had surgery Sunday morning to repair a fracture. Got some pins in his leg. He'll be fine. It's going to take some time, obviously, and right now doesn't look like he'll be back for this season, but only time will tell. Depends on how he heals and rehab and things like that. But we were very excited about T1. He had a great spring. He had a great training camp, and we're really looking forward to his development. He'll be missed, but we'll get him all taken care of, get him healthy, and he'll be back. Now,
he also asked about a couple of other players, but for fans who are unaware, you've made the decision this year. Injuries, only going to talk about them when they come at long-term like T1s.
Yeah, guys that are day-to-day or going to be game-time decisions, there's really no update or status on some of those guys. If they're going to be out long-term and miss several games or miss a season like T1, that's a different deal. But, I'd rather keep some of the injuries that our individual players have in-house.
One more question. This is from Sal on Twitter. Coach, is Naheem Anderson eligible to play this year? He was a transfer that got officially announced the other day, and if so, in what role position do you envision him?
Yeah, Naheem joined our football team here just recently. He's going to be a linebacker for us, either Mike or Will, based on what our needs are going to be in the future. He, right now, today, is not eligible. There's some things that we're trying to petition through the NCAA to see if we can get that done. But as of today, he is not eligible to play this year yet.
But he may not have made the right decision quite at first, but he did the second time around.
Hey, we all make Better choice the second go-around, right?
And I was going to say, Coach, and adding that depth to that position already at linebacker, what is that like? You had to get him in the room now with those guys.
Well, it's huge for our future. We're going to lose two really good linebackers, Deontay Roberts and Trevor Morris, guys that have played a lot of football, been around here for a long time. We really like Rashawn Battle in his growth and development. Tyshawn Fogg, we think, is still going to be an outstanding football player. And to put a guy like Naheem in there in the mix with those two guys really makes us feel a lot better for the future. If Naheem is not eligible, even if he is, he's probably not going to necessarily help us at linebacker, but could on special teams. But being here for the fall, learning the system, getting into the shape and working out with Coach Parker in the weight room, it's going to put him in a good situation in the spring to come in and battle.
Your linebackers in particular this past week, led by those two guys, evaluate the group. What did you see?
You know what? Very, very pleased with the linebackers in the play on Saturday. Myself and Deontay Roberts and Trevor Morris actually were talking about 2016 Ohio State game. And I had those guys go back and take a peek at themselves in that game, and they actually laughed at themselves. It was that bad. And when I watch the way they played this last Saturday, it's just amazing the growth and development that those guys have had. They've played a lot of football. They've had a lot of production, albeit not necessarily a lot of good play at times. But the way they played Saturday, they were fast, they were physical. They got the defense lined up. If things weren't right, they were able to communicate. They just may not have been able to do that in the past, and they're just at a whole nother level right now. And that's called player development. And that's what you hope as guys go through their career, and especially two guys that are playing their last season, that they can do that.
Speaking of player development, Chris and I were talking during the game about Isaiah Wharton and Blesson Austin when they first were thrown into the fire and where they've come now today. Talk about a guy that you got to go throw in the fire, Avery Young, out there to play some corner and play a lot of reps.
He did. He was out at corner. He was out at punt return. He did some other things on special teams. Absolutely love the kid. Tremendous kid. He's he's mature beyond his age, and he's very confident in himself. His dad played NFL football, so he's got some good bloodlines. He's been well coached by his dad, but he went in the game and he did a great job. And very, very excited about him, and I can't wait to watch him continue to grow and develop and see the player he becomes.
Finally, on this past week, special teams, there were a couple of issues I'm sure that you addressed, but overall evaluated for us.
Well, there were a lot of goods, just like I mentioned with the offense and defense. There were a lot of goods to take away from our special teams. There were a few things that some penalties that came up and a fumbled punt that when you look at that, kind of puts a dark cloud over the special teams, but I really liked what I saw. Some of the things that happened are easy fixes. They were just some poor choices by a couple individuals when we inadvertently ran into the punter, got a penalty, and then we had a roughing the snapper. That was, in my opinion, a questionable call. But those things are easily fixable. I am concerned about the fumbled punt. It was just kind of a poor decision, one that we should have not even tried to field. But there were some outstanding things done with our coverage teams, our punt team, our kickoff team. We were 5 for 5 for PATs, so there were a lot of things to take out of it. I
wanted to ask you about the snapper play in particular, because we talked about this during the game. The new emphasis this year on player safety, and I was reading through the rule book last week before the game just to kind of refresh my memory, and one of them was if there is any question whatsoever as to whether or not a player is defenseless, he is considered defenseless. Was that the instance with the long snapper there that maybe they kind of overcompensated for?
Well, the definition of the rule that I got, or explanation of the rule that I was given on game day, was that when the long snapper snaps the ball, his head comes up, he is allowed at least a second from the time his head is up to let him run. He had taken 2 full steps on Saturday, had snapped it and taken 2 full steps, but they had ruled that he hadn't actually had a full second with his head up before he had been hit. So that was the explanation that I received. It was a bang call. We've got to do a better job of coaching it, and we got to make better decisions in those situations moving forward.
Going back to the coverage team, I don't know if you saw, Coach, but it looked like there was a little competition on who can get down there the fastest on a few of the kickoffs there. Going through the end zone.
It's called our we have a deal we call Thursday races, and we have a little race on Thursdays at practice. And the players are really juiced up. We call it night energy, and we want to use our kickoff team to create some night energy in the stadium. And It is a race to get down the field. It's a party at the ball, and if it's a touchback, we're going to finish all the way through the goal line and try to energize the student section, especially when we're going that way. But we take a lot of pride in our kickoff coverage. We were one of the best kickoff coverage units in the country and in the league last year. Right now, we sit after one game, we sit at number 1 in the league, and we want to try to stay there.
See, Chris, that's the stuff you got to respect. See, the little things like that that you notice. See,
for those who didn't know, and I apologize if you talked about this last week and I missed it. But you
missed it.
Yeah, probably. The one other rule change in special teams is that on kickoffs, on free kicks, you can fair catch the ball anywhere inside the 25 and get the ball at the 25-yard line. Now, we didn't see it happen this past week, but in your opinion, how does that affect special teams overall?
It's a big change. We've gone into a territory that really we've never seen before. Not quite sure what to expect as the season goes on what people will try to do. There is still some strategy involved in trying to steal some yards and maybe steal a possession with how you kick the ball. There are some other things in that rule that are really kind of difficult also. If you signal for a fair catch, doesn't mean you just get the ball at the 25-yard line. If you muff the kick and recover it, it's down at that spot. So it could be a very bad thing if you don't cleanly catch the kickoff also. So like the other day, Raheem Blackshear dropped and muffed the first kickoff return. He picked it up and was able to run. But if he would have signaled a fair catch, it was dead at the spot. So if you do signal a fair catch, you better make sure you cleanly field it. And the premium is put on catching the ball.
I want to talk a little bit about the punt team. What did you think about their efforts and now with a new punter and different style?
Yeah, I think they did a great job. Our net punt was over 39 yards. We'd really like it to be about 43, 44 yards, so we're just a few yards off. But Adam Korsak did a great job. He's got a skill set and some tools in his tool bag that we'll pull out as we go through the season that I honestly have never been around as a coach and very, very excited about it. It's going to be a different style of punt than what people are used to. Ryan Anderson was a traditional spiral punter. Adam is an Australian punter, and it's a different ball. I know some people think, well, that must have been a bad hit. No, that's the way it's designed to be. Mm-hmm. Those things are very difficult to field, and when they hit the ground, you're going to usually get a favorable roll and get more yards out of it. So we're excited about him. He did a great job in his first game also.
We'll take a timeout. We've got more chances for you to talk to the coach. Whether you're in attendance here at Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, by all means, come on up to the microphone and we will get you an opportunity to ask your question on the air. We'll also take your calls at 877-384-1869 and tweet your questions at Rutgers Radio. Give you a little bit of a break next as we welcome in your defensive coordinator and linebackers coach, Jay Neiman, who's going to join us in just a moment. You're listening to The Chris Ash Show.
When you think sports, think McGettigan, the official watch party location for Rutgers football in the premier Irish bar in New York City. Enjoy our watch party specials with $10 buckets of wings and $5 Coors Light beer buckets, and great weekly specials such as Beer and Burger Mondays, Taco Tuesdays, and Ladies Night on Wednesdays. Located at 70 West 36th Street in Midtown Manhattan, McGettigan's is close to some of the city's most iconic landmarks, such as the Empire State Building and Madison Square Garden. So when you think sports, think McGettigan's.
Best tailgate? It's gotta be burgers. And an ice cold Coke.
Real football y pollo asado.
Hoops and wings. Dude, subs.
Nah, hot dog.
No, Dodger dog.
I'll drink to that. Pass me a Coke. It's gotta be crawfish.
Mac and cheese.
No.
7-layer dip.
Ribs.
No contest.
Hummus.
What?
You need a hot grill.
An ice cold Coke.
Of course.
Football and Coke. Come on.
It's got to be Coke.
Game day? Race day.
Calls for Coke.
You know it.
It's tailgating 101.
The Chris Ash Show returns after this local timeout. This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
When we take care of our own hearts, we're also taking care of the people closest to us. So it's comforting to know that RWJ Barnabas Health has New Jersey's most comprehensive cardiac care program, with access to top specialists, minimally invasive heart surgery options, and rehabilitation and wellness programs. So get your heart checked. It's as easy as visiting rwjbh.org/heart. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube. Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2.50, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar open all year round. On the way to the game and need something to go? Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size. Watch all the games, have a great time, and enjoy the best wings in the USA. 561 Route 1 in Edison. 732-777-WING.
We have returned to Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, New Jersey for this week's edition of the Chris Ash Show. Rutgers getting set to take on Ohio State this coming Saturday out in Columbus. You're listening to 1450 AM WCTC New Brunswick, and of course watching on RVision at ScarletKnights.com and Facebook Live as well. Chris Carlin, Eric LeGrand, joined by Rutgers defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. That is Jay Neiman. And we'll get to some from football here in just a moment. But first of all, big congratulations in order. For the fans who were unaware, your two sons were playing linebacker at Iowa, and Ben, your older son, just made the Kansas City Chiefs as an undrafted free agent. That had to be a special moment.
It was. He's been in the mini camp, summer camp, preseason, so forth, like everybody else trying to make a team. And so when I came in off the field, we had obviously won the game. We're all excited about that. And then on top of that, went to check my phone, and he had sent me a text saying he had made it. So that was a huge moment, and really proud of him and happy for him.
Oh, that's awesome, man. You know, coaching your son, you coach him as a kid growing up, things like that, giving tips and things like that. But then when you have to go against him, what is that like? I'm sure it's something that, only something a father and son can talk about.
It's something you hope you don't have to do very often.
Exactly.
Yeah, we went against Iowa a couple years ago here when my older son, Ben, who you just mentioned, was a linebacker. We're going to go there next year. And then my younger son, Nick, is a starting Sam linebacker there as a sophomore, so he'll be playing next year when we go out there. So those will be the 2 times we have to play against each of them, 1 apiece, and then hopefully we're done with it.
Were you, listen, you had plenty to do last week and getting ready for week 1, but did you kind of let yourself think about that, or did you just try to stay away from it and let that situation unfold?
Well, it's hard not to, I'll be honest with you, but, with 2 sons that play football, I went through it when they were even in high school and now in college and now the NFL. You've kind of got to program yourself to tune that out. When it's time to do business, you got to do business and stay focused on what you got to prepare for and what you got to do. And then when you have a time to let your guard down and start thinking about those other things, there's a time to do it, not to do it, and you just got to kind of know when to turn that switch.
I want to bring it back to the linebackers now that you are coaching, each day. And I know Coach Ash was just talking how you have 2 senior guys in there, Trevor Morris and things like that. I want to know what it's like coaching those guys. Where have you seen them develop? As Coach Ash said, they watched the film from 2 years ago. How have you seen them? Because you're in the room with them every single day, develop.
Well, it's been a gradual process. Like Coach said, that first year was a little rough. And that's true when you take over a program and you're trying to establish new culture and new schemes, new relationships. Everything really is starting from scratch. And so it's a gradual process where you just, strive for that daily improvement. And a lot of that has to do with what Coach Parker does in the weight room as well as the things that we work on the field. But to see them grow and mature and learn, get bigger and stronger and more knowledgeable, and see their quality of play improve as they've gone through that has been fun to watch, and I'm really anxious to see the rest of this year unfold as they continue along those lines.
It's got to be pretty rewarding, in particular with Trevor and with Deontay. And Coach was just telling us about them watching the Ohio State game from a couple of years ago, and they were kind of chuckling at themselves watching that game.
They might have been, but I wasn't. We got knocked around a little bit there. They were pups at that point, and hopefully we'll see a way different product Saturday when we go there.
Can you talk a little bit about Maddox Williams? I believe his first action was Ohio State, was at 2016 there.
Yeah, it was. It sure was.
And then he had everything that happened last year, but now he's back out there. What have you seen from him so far this year?
Tyreek's a good athlete. He's a good football player. We just need to keep him healthy. He's had a couple injuries here and there that he's had to deal with, but he did get his feet wet at Ohio State a couple years ago. Like you said, that's where it started. Last year he was on the shelf. Now we've got him back. He's making really good progress. He's a very versatile player, has good speed and agility and quickness for a guy his size, but also has some of the physicality and those kinds of tools that you need to be a linebacker to come into the, into the fold in the run game and get in the box and mix it up with people. So I like where he's at, and kind of like Deontay and Trevor, I'm really anxious to see his improvement come along this year now that he's gotten himself healthy and is playing again.
Jay Neiman, Rutgers defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, with us here at Quaker Steak and Lube on this week's edition of the Chris Ash Show. Your defense this year, how is it different in terms of how you use personnel without giving away a game plan versus what it was a year ago?
Well, Coach touched on it just a few minutes ago prior to the break. We've utilized more linebackers on first and second down. Typically, a lot of your sub packages come on third down when you get into long yardage situations. But in order for us to utilize the people we have the best way we can, there are going to be times based on down and distance personnel and so forth that we want to get a little bit more speed on the field. And it also gives us a chance to rest some of the D linemen, by how we sub some of these backers in and out of the game. So it's been a really good tool for us. We worked on it really hard during training camp and developed that package and used it for the first time, obviously, against Texas State, and got off to a good start. So I'm anxious for that to continue to go, and be a good tool for us.
And with the so much experience, I would say, for your defensive backs when you have in those guys, when you're up there play calling, how much confidence does that give you in your play call when you have those guys back there to either coach up or you know that they're going to be in that right position?
It gives you all kinds of confidence. Our ability to cover will also dictate to an extent how much we can pressure. As the secondary goes, so goes the front, so to speak, because you can't isolate guys out there on an island and put them one-on-one a lot unless you feel confident that they can cover like you need them to. And if you do feel that way, then that allows you to bring fourth, fifth, and sometimes even the sixth rusher if that's what you choose to do. So we've got a good group back there. They're playing well, working hard, and they give us some freedom and some flexibility that maybe you wouldn't normally have.
Damon Haynes, the transition to safety, how has it gone?
Really well. Damon's playing well. We kind of got into that process late in spring practice, and he transitioned and stuck with that on into the work that he did over the summer and then on into training camp. He's had a really good start through training camp and through this first ball game. He's adapted to that position very well. Sometimes with corners, you're not sure if they're going to be physical and hitters like safeties are. But, we found out right away in training camp once we put the pads on, he'll come downhill and smack you. So I'm really happy with how he's playing.
Is that a difficult transition to the layman? It seems like it would be, because it seems like you have to be focused on a lot more than just the guy that's in front of you.
No doubt. There's a lot of communication that goes on back there. Those safeties are kind of like linebackers to the extent that a lot of the quarterbacking of the defense comes from them. A lot of the communication, just is necessary. That's where it comes from, checking coverages and doing some of the things that we do. And so as a corner, your skill set and your ability to play obviously is crucial, but you just don't have some of those communication responsibilities that you have when you go to safety. And so for Damon to make that transition from corner to safety and pick up the leadership aspect of that and do the communication part, he's transitioned really well there.
Well, when you talk about corners, sometimes you don't think about running. You think about them covering and they're not playing in the running game. But in a lot of your defenses, it seems like sometimes the corner has to be the one that's setting the edge and coming up and making that tackle. So when you talk about having corners that can do that with Isaiah Warren, Bless, and Austin, and so forth to go on with the rest that you have at that position.
Well, we're fortunate because both of those guys can do that. And depending on the coverage that you're playing and the formation that you're trying to defend, there are lots of times where they can wind up being in the run fit, as we call it. So they're both good tacklers. They're both aggressive guys. They do that very well. I will say this, sometimes, you run into personnel situations or systems like other places that maybe we've coached where you don't have those guys and you have to try to hide them or cover them up a little bit. These guys will stick their nose right in there with the best of them and slug it out. So we've got a couple good ones there, and we're really happy with how they're playing the run too.
Ohio State this week, defending, Coach mentioned earlier the tempo that you have to really try to be ready for, but at the same time it can kind of wear you down later on. What are the other things outside of the talent about this particular system which Rutgers actually ran a few years ago, that defensively you have to be concerned about?
Well, I think that, and we've talked about this with our own guys this week, you have to be successful on first down if you can. You're trying to get ahead of the chain so you can set up a positive second down and then eventually a positive third down. So in other words, if you're 2nd and 5 all day, then you're probably in 3rd and short, whereas if you're 2nd long, you're probably in 3rd and medium. So you got to try to get ahead of the chains and give yourself an upper hand on it. If you don't, if you're not able to get off the field on 3rd down, then it's really hard to get them out of tempo. And so a lot of that falls right back on us being able to do what we've got to do to get ourselves off the field.
Well, as a play caller, when you have that up-tempo offense, how hard is it to get that signal down to your team on what you want to do and looking at the personnel that they're coming in and things like that as to when you can line up in a huddle and you have a little bit more time?
You're asking me some hard questions.
I'm just trying to
well, one of us is going to know what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, that's very legitimate. Sometimes things go so fast, you give your players what would you just call kind of a blanket call, that if things are going so fast that there's not time for us to process that, they can make a front and coverage call that's sound against most everything that you see. In all the other cases, we've worked on that tempo and we've gone fast enough on the practice field that we can get that call into them and they can go ahead and execute it.
Jay Neiman, Rutgers defensive coordinator, with us. Before we let you go, how about you? You're a Midwest guy, but here you are in New Jersey for 3 years. So what's that been like for you and your family?
It's been great. I mean, it's hard on my wife being far away from the kids and all that, but they're wrapped up in college, and now my son's in the NFL and playing, they're traveling all over the place now. So, but we've enjoyed it. The people have been great. The university's been great. I enjoy the guys that I work with in the office and the players that I get to coach. It's gone really, really well, and we're thankful to be here.
Are you enjoying the food out here as well?
I do. Oh, well, I like any food, but yeah.
And, I mean, just, again, congratulations. You just said that sentence, my son's in the NFL. That's got to be a pretty awesome sentence to say.
Well, yeah, and hopefully it can stick. That's hard to do. It's easier said than done.
Jay Neiman, Rutgers defensive coordinator, thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Thanks
Good luck
for having me. I
Saturday.
appreciate it.
We'll take a break. We've got more coming up with the coach, Chris Ash. You can ask your questions at 877-384-1869. You can tweet your questions at Rutgers Radio. And if you're here at Quaker Steak and Lube, by all means, come on up front and ask your question to Coach Ash. We'll talk about the matchup with Ohio State, the 4th-ranked Buckeyes, Saturday at 3:30 in moments. You're listening to the Chris Ash Show.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube. Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2.50, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar open all year round. On the way to the game and need something to go? Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size. Watch all the games, have a great time, and enjoy the best wings in the USA. 561 Route 1 in Edison. 732-777-WING.
When we take care of our own hearts, we're also taking care of the people closest to us. So it's comforting to know that RWJ Barnabas Health has New Jersey's most comprehensive cardiac care program, with access to top specialists, minimally invasive heart surgery options, and rehabilitation and wellness programs. So get your heart checked. It's as easy as visiting rwjbh.org/heart. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
The Chris Ash Show returns after this local timeout. This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Best tailgate? It's gotta be burgers. And an ice cold Coke.
Real football y pollo asado.
Hoops and wings. Sid subs.
Nah, hot dog.
No, Dodger dog.
I'll drink to that. Pass me a Coke. It's gotta be crawfish.
Mac and cheese. No. 7-layer dip. Ribs. No contest.
Hummus.
What?
You need a hot grill.
And an ice cold Coke.
Of course.
Football and Coke. Come on.
It's got to be Coke.
Game day? Race day.
Calls for Coke.
You know it.
It's Tailgate 101.
This is Stephen Hartzell, host of the Nissan College Football Blitz, heard every Saturday from noon until midnight Eastern on TuneIn.com and the TuneIn app. When there's a big play, a momentum change, and if that possible upset is happening, not only will we let you know, you'll hear the scores as they happen live. Catch all of the action as we count you down to the college football playoff. It's the Nissan College Football Blitz, Saturdays, noon until midnight Eastern on the College Sports Now channel on TuneIn.com and the TuneIn app.
We are back at Quaker Steak and Lube, week 2. Chris Ash show here in Edison, New Jersey. And before we get back to talking to the coach about Rutgers and Ohio State, our friends from Quaker Steak and Lube are doing a great thing 2 weeks from tonight. And we encourage you all to come out. It's called Dine to Donate for the Parents Project MD in honor of Danny Garofalo. And Dan Sr. is here tonight, and he was here last week as well. And I know you guys got a chance to talk about Danny and everything he means to Rutgers. Great moment on Saturday before the game with the honorary captains, Danny's parents, and also, you know, letting the balloon go, the red balloon, in his honor of his memory. Well, it's going to be kind of a fun way to raise money here. Dine to Donate. 15% of your bill for 2 weeks from tonight, September the 19th, all day, will go directly to Parents Project MD. So come here on September the 19th, the Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, New Jersey. And that's a terrific job by our friends here that have been such great partners for your coach's show the last several years to honor Danny.
That's a great deal. Danny and his family are awesome, and we were able to give Danny's family the game ball after the game, too, in the locker room. So it was a very, very special moment.
That's fantastic. And you know, you look at a game like this week, you have Ohio State. We always know that they're going to have a ton of talent, but I was kind of intrigued by one thing in particular, and that was a comment that Coach Shiano made this week, his familiarity, obviously, with Coach McNulty, and kind of joked around that maybe he might have to change his calls this week. You were asked about it at your press conference the other day. There's really, I would imagine there's probably no advantage to either guy in knowing the other because they know each other as well as they do. Is that fair?
Well, yeah, and this situation is completely different. This isn't like going against two guys, you know, in practice. This is completely different. You know, the players that they have and what they're able to do on defense is different than what he has done in the past. There are some things that, you know, he believes in that he has carried with him everywhere. But, you know, I would say the majority of that is different because of the players they have. John is no different here. There are things that we do offensively today because of the players that we have in our program today and not necessarily what would have been done back, you know, in the mid-2000s when he was here or, you know, what he's been a part of in the NFL. It's really a combination of a lot of different things, and it's geared towards our players today. So at the end of the day, you know, guys can work with each other, guys can know each other, guys can know calls, but it's about the players, giving them the calls that they can execute and giving them calls that fit their skill set and giving them a chance to be successful. They have to still go execute that on game day. So, you know, I know that football is a game of cat and mouse, and you try to gain any advantage you can to try to help you. But in this situation, I don't think there's really an advantage either direction. Our players need to go play our calls, and they need to go play theirs.
I was going to say, Coach, I know coaches are always looking, like you said, for those little advantages. I meant, you know, be, you know, something for this week, but when it's like coaching with somebody that you do have, you know, some similarity with, or, you know, a relationship with in the past, what is that like, I guess, when you do have that coaches meeting? You know, like I said, it does have to, you know, be similar to this week, but just in general.
Yeah, you know, when you're around this profession for a long time, you do get a lot of friendships and relationships with people that you coach against. And, you know, when, at the pregame, like if I know a head coach, you know, you chit-chat for a couple minutes, and that's time to go to battle, and it's time to go play the game. And, you know, the time for those relationships and friendships are in the off-season, to be honest with you. When it's in the season and time to go play a game, we got a job to do, and job to do is to get our team ready to go and see how well we can go perform. And then again, it's recruiting too. You got to go recruit against a lot of these guys that you know. So again, it's a job. We have a job to do, and those friendships and relationships are about the off season.
Got a couple of questions on Twitter, including our friend John, who's right over there, and could have just come up to the microphone, but instead he sent a tweet.
Where's the chicken at? Oh, is that him? Chicken?
Coach, and this happened last Thursday night at the 50-yard line dinner after the show the night earlier. Can you tell us how surprised you were about the announcement from Greg and Anna Brown about funding to renovate the entire locker room. For those who did not know, Greg and Anna Brown made a $4 million pledge last Thursday night when they were being honored with the 1869 Legacy Award for all that they've done, and they decided to go ahead and do that. And I did see you hug them pretty tight at one point, that's for sure.
When someone's giving you $4 million, you're going to hug really tight. Might hold on to see if you can get a couple more. But I'll just start with Greg and Anna as people. They're tremendous people. Since the day that we arrived here, they've been very supportive. Have great relationship with Greg and Anna. They not only support the football program with a lot of projects throughout the years, not just this one, but they've helped in a lot of other areas. They've helped other sports. They've helped things at the university. They're just great Rutgers people. They love Rutgers. They want to see Rutgers have success in a lot of different areas. Last Thursday night, he and Anna received the Legacy Award, as you mentioned. And they made an announcement that they were going to give us $4 million for some continued renovations of our facilities. And that's something that we've been talking about for probably 2 years, year and a half. Really did not know he was in position and willing to do it on Thursday night. I thought that we would get to that point at some time down the road. Didn't know it was going to be $4 million either. Thought it would be, maybe a couple.
Read the story. I mean, yeah. I don't know that Greg did really beforehand. They were discussing it.
It's the way it goes. My wife will tell you they're the ones that make the decisions. So she made the decision for $4 million. So thank you, Anna.
That's awesome, Coach. And as you came in here, you got to see the facilities and things like that, and things that needed to be changed and things that need to be upgraded. One thing that stuck out to me this summer when you guys were having one of the camps, when Coach Shiana and Coach Meyer were out here looking at the practice field, I remember looking at Coach Meyer and seeing him look at the grass, and he started to mess with it a little bit. And then he comes up to Coach and goes, "Was this like this when you were here?" And he was like, "No." He goes, "I need to look into this." And it was just great to see that that at that level that they're seeing it too as well, that the upgrades here are top notch, top level. So how does that make you feel too?
Well, it's something that we identified early on that we needed to upgrade in a lot of areas. And it's not being disrespectful or looking down on anything. It's just it's a different era. It's a new time. We're in a different league. We're competing against people that have some of the best venues and facilities in the country, not only in this region or in our conference, but in the country. And I've been there, I've seen it, and I know what it's going to take to build and to be able to recruit. Recruiting, a lot of people just look at the coach, but you got to have the tools to also be able to go out and recruit too. And because of Pat Hobbs's vision and understanding of that, we've been able to work together to be able to put together some plans for upgrades. And every year we're trying to upgrade a different area. We have a lot of needs, and there have been a lot of supporters. The Garudis, the Towers. The Rodkins are stepping up with a new academic center. So there are a lot of things that we're building that are really long overdue, but we need their financial support to get it done, and we're going to get our locker room and training room redone here at the end of the season, and then we'll be on to the next one because we've got to keep going. And eventually we'll get the Big Ten money. We're going to be in position to do some more on our own, but right now we need help of other people.
And they have responded just brilliantly and just about at that $100 million mark for the Big Ten build. That Rutgers started just a few years ago with Pat Hobbs, and terrific to see. Right there at $99 million and change, about to cross the threshold of $100 million raised. We'll take a timeout, come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the matchup with Ohio State. I promise we'll get to it in just a few moments. Stay with us. Final break here on the Chris Ash Show.
Traffic. It can be more stressful than that last-second Hail Mary pass, but Nissan changed the game. Nissan Rogue has available Nissan Intelligent Mobility, like ProPilot Assist, that can start and stop in highway traffic all on its own and help keep you centered. Nissan Rogue, it's a game changer. Get to Nissan, proud supporter of college athletics. ProPilot Assist is an available feature and cannot prevent collisions. Always monitor traffic conditions. Keep both hands on the steering wheel. See owner's manual for safety information.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube. Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2.50, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar open all year round. On the way to the game and need something to go? Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size. Watch all the games, have a great time, and enjoy the best wings in the USA. 561 Route 1 in Edison. 732-777-WING.
The Chris Ash Show returns after this local timeout. This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
When we take care of our own hearts, we're also taking care of the people closest to us. So it's comforting to know that RWJ Barnabas Health has New Jersey's most comprehensive cardiac care program, with access to top specialists, minimally invasive heart surgery options, and rehabilitation and wellness programs. So get your heart checked. It's as easy as visiting rwjbh.org/heart. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
This is Cabell Philpott, host of the Nissan College Football Blitz. Heard every Saturday from noon until midnight Eastern on TuneIn.com and the TuneIn app. When there's a big play, a momentum change, and that possible upset happening, not only will we let you know, you'll hear the scores as they happen live. Catch all of the action as we count you down to the college football playoff. It's the Nissan College Football Blitz. Saturdays, noon until midnight Eastern on the College Sports Now channel on TuneIn.com and the TuneIn app.
We got a couple of minutes left on the Chris Ash Show this week at Quaker Steak and Lube, Rutgers and Ohio State this coming week. All right, so Coach, how are the Buckeyes different than we've seen the last couple of years? J.T. Barrett felt like he was there for about 35 years, and he has moved on, and Dwayne Haskins is their quarterback. But on both sides of the ball, how are the Buckeyes different?
Well, you mentioned the quarterback position. That's the one that really jumps out at you first because it's a different name, a different guy behind center. JT was there for a long time, very productive. I think leading yardage passer in the Big Ten history. So he had a great career. But Haskins comes in. Haskins is, in my opinion, a better passer. I'm not saying he's a better player, but he's a better passer. And they've got a lot of weapons. They probably go 8-9 deep at wide receiver. They can come at you in a lot of different directions. They have 3 or 4 running backs that are really good. They have some tight ends, and probably, in my opinion, right now, they have the potential to have the best offensive line that has been there probably since 2014. So there's a lot of weapons on offense. Defensively, they're really good up front. They are inexperienced in the back seven. They lost a lot of guys at linebacker and in the secondary, guys that had been around there and played for a long time that are gone. I know Oregon State was able to take advantage of some miscues that they had on defense and get some yards and put up some points. But this is a very talented football team. I think they're ranked number 5 in the nation for a reason, and it's because they have really good players. And they played very well in their first game against Oregon State. And I know a lot of people are thinking maybe there were distractions in training camp and all that, but they came out of the gates fast and just played an outstanding game against Oregon State in game 1.
And can you talk a little bit, I know you're talking about offense and defense, but how special teams can play a huge role in that when you have a young guy, Dwayne Haskins, in there as a quarterback? I know he has the ability to do it all, but if you make him have to drive the field the entire game, and I know they're going to be with that quick up-tempo offense, but instead of having to go only 40 yards, having to go 70 yards each time, how important is that going to be as well? Yeah,
that's really important. The battle of field position is important in every game, and especially when you're playing a very good opponent. It has a lot of weapons and has big strike ability. It is important that you win the field position with your special teams. Amazing stat. They've played one game and they've kicked off 12 times already. So they got a lot of work on their kickoff team.
Well, Coach, best of luck on Saturday. Looking forward to it. Go get one in Columbus.
Yeah, thank you. We're looking forward to going out there and playing a really good football team.
We'll see you here next week, next Wednesday night, for the Chris Ash Show, as Rutgers is going to be in between 2 straight road games, this week in Columbus and then, of course, the following week out in Lawrence, Kansas. Special thanks today to Paul Schrager, our producer and engineer, John Essick back at our Rutgers IMG Sports Network studios with RVision, Tim DeMartin, Colin Osborne doing fantastic work as always, Hassim Phillips and Jimmy Gill helping us out as well. For Eric LeGrand and the coach, Chris Ash, this is Chris Carlin speaking, reminding you, Rutgers and Ohio State this Saturday, 3:30 kick on BTN, and you can catch it, of course, on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Have a great week, everybody. See you Saturday as the Scarlet Knights take on the Buckeyes.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
You've been listening to The Chris Ash Show on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. Join us throughout the season from Quaker Steak and Lube on US 1 in Edison to hear from the head football coach of the Scarlet Knights. The Chris Ash Show has been brought to you by The Chris Ash Show is an exclusive presentation of IMG, America's home for college sports.